Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to all our listeners tuning from near and far. Welcome back to another episode of the Campus Voice. I'm your host Fad. Today we are diving deep into a topic that is profoundly critical yet historical shrouded in hesitation, discomfort and misunderstanding. We are talking about mind matters, sustaining student well-being. In an era where academic expectations are sky high and the world is evolving faster than ever, such student mental health can no longer be treated as secondary luxury or an afterthought. It is the very bedrock of academic success and personal development. To dissect this today, I joined by two incredible student voices. To my left, we have Kai, who always bring a sharp, analytical, and data-driven perspective to the table. And to my right, we have Arif, who keep us grounded with real-world experience and community insight. And so, how are you guys doing today?
Thanks. I'm really doing great, but and I'm really glad that we are dedicating a full hour into this podcast in light of changing the uh, economical structure, economic pressure, and also the digital saturation. This conversation is overdue.
I love the phrasing, Kai. If I can put it more everyday student term, good mental health is when you look at your calendar for the week and even though you see three assignments and a midterm exam. You don't feel an immediate wave of nausea or existential dread. It means you have the emotional reserve to handle a setback. When your mental health is compromised, even a minor issue like a corrupt file or a misunderstood text from a friend, you can completely dry your into it. This makes the mundane feel monumental.
That is an excellent analogy, Arif. It's all about daily functionality and cognitive capacity. Yet, if we look back to our generation ago, our parents or teachers rarely talk about burnout or imposter syndrome. Why do why do you think this crisis seems to be peaking right now in our generation?
Well, the older generation often look at us and label us as the snowflake generations or the strawberry generations, meaning that we look vibrant on the outside but bruised at the slightest touch. But this narrative completely ignores the structural shift. Previous generation faced a physical and infrastructural challenges. Absolutely. But today, we live in a hyper connected, volatile, and also highly competitive due to the landscape driven by the digital transformation. The sheer volume of the information and cognitive demands and systemic pressure to constantly perform is historically unprecedented.
Exactly, people say, oh, all you have to do is study. You don't have to work a 9 to 5 to job to pay bill, yes. But they don't see that modern education has become a 24/7 ecosystem because of smartphone and online learning portal. You are never truly out of school. You get assignment notification at 10 p.m. You get group project test at midnight. The boundaries between rest and work have been completely obliterated, calling us very fragile is a lazy way of dismissing a complex, systematic way to support us in this new digital environment.
Okay, that's a powerful point. That's dismissal of this struggle by labeling students as weak only deepen the stigma. It forced students to internalize their struggle, masking their pain until it manifests a clinical anxiety, severe depression, or worse. Acknowledging that you are overwhelmed isn't a sign of a weakness, it's a sign of a self-awareness. So guys, let's transition into the meat of the issues, the root causes. We can talk about student well-being without looking directly at the academic engine itself. How much does our current educational framework contribute to this degeneration of mental health?
Well, it is a massive contributor because our systems are fundamentally metric driven. We have built an educational culture where our students' entire self worth is tethered to a 4-point grading scale or standardized exam score. This creates an intense performance anxiety. Furthermore, when pedagogical methods, the way we are taught, uh, fail to evolve alongside the students, a massive gap forms. If an instructor relies on the outdated, high pressure, unengaging teaching methods, students don't actually internalize the material, so they don't gain the true literacy or mastery. They just memorize it, regurgitate, and empty their brains to survive for the next test.
Mankind, you hit the nail on the head. It's the survival modes of learning. Let's talk about the sheer volume of coursework. Each often feel like departments don't talk to each other. Is in any given week, you might have Professor A assigning a 2,000 words essay. Professor B demanding a major lab report, and Professor C holding a surprise quiz. When you have a limited vocabulary or struggling with language barrier, which is a which is common for many students trying to adapt adapt to higher level academic rating, the stress double. You you are not learning, you just guessing. Deadline is a relentless assembly line of tasks.
It sounds like the joy of intellectual curiosity have been entirely replaced by a culture of complaints and deadline chasing. And as you mentioned, Arif, for students you have who ha- who may have foundation gap, whether it's language literacy, technical skills, or past education background, in this fast-paced, high-pressure environment leave them feeling chronically inadequate. They don't just feel like they are failing a class, but they feel like they're failing at life. Yeah.
And where do students go when they want to escape this academic pressure? They turn to their phones. But instead of finding the relief, they walk straight into psychological minefield. Social media has created a culture of perpetual curated comparison. You open an app and you see someone on your age, like you, launching a startup another landing a prestigious international internship, and someone else posting their 4.0 GPA on their media socials this will triggers an intense FOMO, which is stand out for fear of missing out,
Yeah.
and it will fit into what we call as a imposter syndrome, the internal conviction that you are fraud who doesn't belong in higher education.
Oh, absolutely. We see everyone else highlights reel, but we experience our own messy behind the scene reality. What's make it worse is that why we are more digitally connected than any generation in human history. We are socially starving. Connectivity has ironically break isolation in a hyper competitive campus environment. It can feel incredible unsafe to show vulnerability. You you will worry that if you tell you peer you're struggle, they might look down on you or perceive you as weak. So everyone is isolate is so everyone isolate themselves in their on digital bubbles, feeling entirely alone in a crowded lecture hall.
It's a profound tragedy of the modern era. We have thousands of digital followers, but no one to sit with us when we having a panic attack. The lack of organic, safe social support system magnifies every academic stressor tenfold. We have diagnosed the issue truly. Now, let's pivot to the systemic solution. We cannot expect students to simply resilience their way out of a broken ecosystem. Let's start with educational institution. What's constructural change need to happen beyond just setting up a counseling center in a quiet corner of the campus? So, Kai?
So, alright, institutions to needs to shift from a reactive framework to a proactive, preventive framework. Historically, university counseling centers operate like an emergency room. You can only go there when you are in a complete state of a crisis. We need to normalize these things because we need to normalize the mental health care. Mental health check-ins should be integrated into the standard onboarding of the students. Furthermore, institution needs to invest in ironclad confidentiality protocols. A major barrier preventing students from seeking help is the fear that their academic records will be flagged, or that faculty members will judge them as a liability.
And let's talk about the faculty themselves, the teacher, lecturer, and professor. They are the frontline responders. A lot of educators think their job begins and ends with delivering a slide deck. But we need a pedagogical approach roots deeply in empathy. If a student who usually participate suddenly stop showing up, or if their assignment quality drop out of nowhere, and empathic educator don't just slap an F on the paper and move on. They They reach out privately, a simple email saying, "Hey, I noticed a change. Is everything okay? How can we get you back on track? On track? Can complete can completely can completely change a student's trajectory. It's remind them that they are seen as a human being, not just a metric or a metric number.
I completely agree, Arif. True education cannot be divorced from pastoral care. When an educator displays genuinely empathy, it breaks down the intimidation factor. It transforms the classroom from being a high-stakes cooperation testing ground back into a community of learning and mutual growth. Now, let's move on from the classroom to the living room. Family dynamic play an astronomical roles in student psychology development. How can parents transition from being a source of pressure to being a pillar of support? Arif?
Parents have to realize that the job market and the educational landscape of 2026 are completely different from 30 years ago. The pressure is different. Home needs to be an unconditional sanctuary, a safe harbor where a student can decompress from the brutal judgment of the outside world. If a student come home or call their parent, and the very first question out of their mouth is, "What did you get for your exam?" or "Why did you at what?" or "Why did your cousin get an internship at the multinational firm while you still doing local projects?" It sheltered them. It communicated that their parental love and acceptance are conditional upon academic and economy output.
That conditional validation is incredibly toxic for a young mind. Parents needs to practice active, which is confess that they are feeling burnt out or that they want to drop a specific course. Uh, they should be immediate response should not be to lecture them on discipline or accuse them of being ungrateful. It should be an attempt to the comprehend their reality. Parents needs to manage their own uh, vicarious ambitions. Your child is an independent human being with their own cognitive limits and unique talents, not an extension of your social status or an instrument to correct your past.
Why we having advocate for systemic overhaul in our universities and families, systemic change take time. In the meantime, students are in the trenches right now. What are some realistic self-empowering strategies that we as students can implement immediately to protect our own mental hygiene? So, Kai?
So, my primary recommendation is to establish strict, non negotiable boundaries with technology. You have to practice intentional digital detox. Turn off academic and social media notification after 9 p.m. Treat sleep as a absolute priority, not an optional luxury. Neurological research shows that sleep deprivation drastically decrease your emotional regulation, and cognitive processing. And additionally, when you are facing a massive academic projects, use tactical breakdowns. Don't look at the giant 30-page thesis as a single entity. Break it down into the break it down into micro tasks, which write one paragraph today, review two references tomorrow, to prevent your brain threat response your mm, f- system from paralyzing your with and anxiety.
To add to Kai points, my biggest piece of advice is to creating your social inner circle with immense care. Distance yourself from toxic, hyper competitive peers who constantly talk about grades or try to make you feel inferior for resting. Build a support system of friends who value you for who you are outside of your academic achievement. And please learn the art of self advocacy if you are struggle with a group project because a teammate is unresponsive, or if you don't understand a concept due to language limited. Do not suffer in silent hoping it will go away. Speak up early. Approach your lecture or student reps. Vul- Vulnerability not is not a weakness. Asking for help is a profound act of courage, and self preservation. Preservation. Preservation.
Incredible practical insight from both of you. It's really amazing how fast an hour flies when you are having an authentic, raw, and necessary conversation. As we wrap up today's episode, let me synthesize what we have uncovered. Student mental health is not a luxury, nor it is a trend or a soft excuse for a lack of discipline. It is a core pillar for, of a functional, progressive society. Protecting it requires a comprehensive, holistic ecosystem. Institution must construct accessible, stigma-free pathway from care. Educator must look past the metric and teacher will perform empathy. Families must transform home into unconditional sanctuaries of love, and we, as students, must actively reject the toxic hustle culture, embrace our boundaries, and never be ashamed to raise our hand and say, guys, or hey, I need a help. So, before we signing off, any final parting thoughts for our listener, guys? Kai, let's start with you.
So alright, to every students that listening out there, your GPA is only an assessment for your specific test of your test score at a specific point in the time. So it is not an assessment of your human value, your intelligence, and your human future potential. So students, please protect your peace first.
And from me, if you are listening to do this in your room right now, feeling completely overwhelmed, suffocated by expectation, and thinking that the world would move on fine without you. Please remember that your matter, your presence is irreplaceable. reach out to someone tonight. You don't have to carry the weight of the world completely on your own.
Beautifully said, Kai and Arif. Thank you for both of your courage, your vulnerability, and your brilliant insight today. And to our listener, thank you for tuning into the Campus Voice. Be kind to your mind. Look out for one others, and remember, a healthy mind is the true architect of a great future. Until next time, I'm Fat signing off. Take care of yourself and bye.